Hello, we'll talk now on this day, 4th of December 2023, of this Italian architect GAE Aulenti, born in 1927 and died in 2012. Let's read a little bit about her. As you can see, she was born on the 4th of December, and that's the reason we pay homage to her now. It was an Italian architect whose work spans industrial and exhibition design, furniture, graphics, stage design, lighting, and interior design. She was well known for several large-scale museum projects, including the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, 1980-1986, with the ACT architecture, the Contemporary Art Gallery at the Centre Pompidou in Paris, the restoration of Palazzo Grassi in Venice, 1985-1986, and the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco with Helmut Obama and Casabaum, firm, HOK. I hope I remember correctly the second name with the initial O, from 2000 to 2003. Aulenti was one of the few women designing in the post-war period in Italy, where Italian designers sought to make meaningful connections to production principles beyond Italy. This avant-garde design movement blossomed into an entirely new type of Italian architecture, one full of imaginary utopias, leaving standardization to the past. I hope in some parts of the world, this standardization will also be relegated to the past. Although standardization could have its own virtues sometimes, especially if you're animated by social concerns. Aulenti's deep development in the Milan design scene of the 1950s and 60s formed her into an architect respected for her analytical abilities to navigate metropolitan complexity, no matter the medium. Her conceptual development can be followed in the design magazine Casabella, to which he contributed regularly. This was very common for Italian architects to be involved in teaching and editing architecture journals, writing, and so on. Most of them did so. Her contemporaries were Vittorio Gregotti, Giancarlo De Carlo, and Aldo Rossi. This was GAE Aulenti. And now we look at this rocking chair from 1962, Poltronova, well designed, and Italians are very good at design in general, and they also manufacture them impeccably. Probably not an inexpensive piece of furniture, but a signature piece of furniture, GAE Aulenti. And beyond the simplicity, we notice the Baroque fluidities or curvatures. A chair, of course, architects love to design chairs, and with good reason, because Miss was right. Sometimes a chair is more difficult to do than a skyscraper, and the chair, I would add, the design of a chair could have therapeutic attributes. It does, if you put your heart and soul into the design of a chair. Poltronova Locus Solus Collection, 1964, another chair by GAE Aulenti. This one equally elegant and equally maybe a little bit less comfortable, but appealing visually, chromatically as well. So the distance between architecture and design was never great, was never big. Many architects designed, objects, and a good architect is also a good urban planner, even if sometimes with questionable you know, output like Le Corbusier in Ville Radieuse, for example. Now, Olivetti Martelli Luce Pipistrello table lamp, 1965, a table lamp which is modern, but yet has a subtle clin d'oeil towards the past. It's graceful. It is graceful. Now, of course, I know that the architect, the designer, was a lady, a woman, but the lamp is feminine. Another table built by Knoll, 1965. This one, in my opinion, has two massive supports at the corners. But this was also the period when, well, not really. The postmodernism was not yet upon us. I expected it to be designed in the 80s, but it was not. Here it is in marble, very massive, and I only wish I was not one of the of the men to move this table, probably very heavy. I would say unnecessarily so, considering those massive corners supports. What is this? Another lamp from 1980s. We'll show also buildings. But she was a, you know, an appreciated designer, and she designed several pieces that are still produced. GAE AULENTI, another table. It seems she had an issue with the supports of the table. In this case, this is whimsical now to put a table with on wheels, and I don't know what to think about it. For me personally, is of a questionable taste. Although Italians are usually beyond reproach in this field, but here it's very, yeah, it's whimsical. But I wouldn't place um, with total confidence a vase with flowers and some water in it on this table. But it's an interesting idea because you would expect a table to be, you know, to give you at least the illusion of being stable, and this one is giving you the illusion or the delusion of not being stable. So I don't know what to think about it. What is this? Look, she explored further this theme of a table on wheels, literally on wheels. Here we see the table on bicycle wheels. And of course, if you want to sit at this table, forget it. You know, you might have a hard time to accommodate your legs underneath. GAE AULENTI. I wonder what John Portman, born on the same day but a different year, would have said about these tables. And now I don't know what this is, some kind of an artwork or a lamp, but I like very much the employment of you know, of color, and also the you know, there is a problematization of the surface of the sphere that shows a lyrical disposition. Olivetti showroom in Paris, 1965. Finally, we arrive at some interior design. She did this exhibition, which is even by today's standards, I think moderately interesting. Of course, Olivetti was a name in the field of typewriters. I don't know what Olivetti does these days. We see here also the lamp that GAE AULENTI designed. She didn't design the typewriters, but she designed the space, the showroom itself. Is this the fetishization of the objects created by Olivetti? I would say so, yes, but that was their business, to impose to the world, almost to impose their vision about this object, very well designed, Olivetti. Musée d'Orsay, this museum I visited, and I can say before I knew who was the designer, and I was impressed by it. It's very well designed. Well, it's the transformation of a railway station into a museum in Paris from 1980 to 1986, and he did an excellent job. She did an excellent job. Sorry about Laurent Leca, the spreading of the name of the author of the picture, but this is the museum, and I think is a suggestion that actually we can create very interesting buildings where we are to transform one function that the building has into a different function that the building might have. And so this hybridization of architecture, in my opinion, has great potential. But of course, it depends on the skill of the architect. It's very possible that if she had to design the building, all the building by herself, the result would not have been as impressive as it is in this case, where she was accommodating, or she was allowed to be accommodated by an impressive existing structure. So the idea to have a museum, a major art museum within a former railway station, is enticing. And here is the architect staring at us, and we stare back. No, it is one of the best museums in Paris, no doubt. And she built another one in Barcelona, again, an intervention on an existing building, equally impressive. Museum of Old Catalan Art. So this is Musée d'Orsay, across the Seine, across the river from the Louvre. And not far away from Place de la Concorde. A great museum. Why the French chose her, I don't know. Maybe it was based on a competition. They had and have their own important architects, but GAE Aulenti got the job, and she did a very good work, in my opinion. You see, you look at that giant clock there, clearly belonging to a different time, but it sits so well there on a glass wall that is anticipating so-called future developments in modern architecture. So it's this melange, this mixture between art and technology, between an older building and new interventions, that creates visual interest and even sometimes ambiguities. But these are not the ambiguities of Las Vegas that were chanted by Robert Venturi. It's something very different. It has sophistication. It's straightforward at the same time. It's not searching for obscure or esoteric hidden meanings at all. The National Museum of Modern Art at the Centre Georges Pompidou in Paris, 1982-1985. It seems that decade of the 1980s was very auspicious for her. she got these works. Unfortunately, for some reason, I don't have a picture of this. I don't know exactly what she did here, because the Centre Georges Pompidou was not done by her, of course. The Palazzo Grassi renovation, 1985-1993. I guess she welcomed these jobs to make interventions within existing, structures and important buildings, like this palace in Venice. But the art is not hers. GAE AULENTI. The National Art Museum of Catalonia, this one the one I mentioned already, the restoration from 1990, an impressive old building. And then the inside, I remember when I was there, I didn't know who the designer was, but I had a very pleasant journey through the museum. The art is displayed beautifully, and with the sensitivity, and yet you feel the presence of the modern you know intervention, although the building from the outside doesn't announce you about these interventions. But once you are inside, you see that it's a building that assumed the time of the present creatively. The Museu Nacional d'Art de Catalunya. Um, yeah, especially I remember seeing these medieval Catalan art, very beautifully displayed. And you see, it's not that usually museums have white rooms, and you hang artworks on the white walls. But here the background of the artworks also have the variety, and they have their own architectural flavor, or architectural attributes that are seductive. And this happened also at Musée d'Orsay. I find much more satisfaction in such an interior than in many, including some, very so-called futuristic, works by contemporary architects. Maybe also because of this touch of the past, the dialogue between an existing building and the creative insertions of the changes that the architect who did the job had to do. Like here, you see the ceiling there. It's architecture. It's creative. It's cultural. It's as an atmosphere. So if she transformed the building, because we saw the building from the outside, but we see inside a new life. No, she was an excellent designer for this kind of works, this kind of functions, to transform for the purpose of locating art. Look at this, space. It's magnificent, especially if you imagine those steps being populated with people, where people are already inside the space. The space is complex, is luminous, is interesting visually, has details that are not common for a modern architecture, but were more common in the past. And you have this mixture between the old and the new that is always a good thing to have, I think. An impressive space. Now the space existed, but she had the intervention just like at Musée d'Orsay, where she brought in new elements that enhanced the old ones, actually. and they enhance each other. So this is GAE AULENTI in Barcelona. Now Villa at Torrecchia Vecchia from 1991. I like this work very much because here she shows the sensitivity to deal, so to speak, with the ruin, to incorporate the ruin or to add something to the ruins. And it's not just the ruin, but also the vegetation. So you have nature and you have the ruin, and you have then slight interventions by her within the ruin. And I find it impressive and, and so provocative in a way. And it's a meditation also on the ephemerality of life and the power of nature. And so we have architecture, we have nature, we have the conflict between architecture and nature, we have small interventions. What she did, I hear, is not major in the sense of, striking volumes or anything. It's more like being subdued in a context which required to be so. So she was able to be discreet where there was a need for discretion. And I think this is a great quality. I mean, she brought to life the ruin through small gestures. Not bad. I would gladly live there in this ruin, no doubt. And I think I would have loved to play chess with Piranesi, because I think Piranesi would have loved to live here too, in this building transformed by GAE AULENTI. The Museum of Asian Art in San Francisco, 2003. Now here again, an existing building, not having a lot to do with Asia, more with Europe, of course. But again, through contrast, through the dialectics of contrast, we see Asia within a building that is not in any way connected with Asia. San Francisco. GAE AULENTI. And I don't think this is, I mean, I don't know how the building was before her interventions, but it's possible that these, gradual transitions from the horizontality of the slab to the verticality of the columns initially was not through, these more grayish parts. So here there are things that she contributed with, I'm almost sure, and at the same time, she preserved the integrity of the old building. Let's wish her happy birthday. Thank you for being here today.